So let me move straight on to our first speaker. Koen van Gerven is the CEO of bpost. He joined bpost in 2006 as a member of the executive committee in charge of retail activities. He was also named chairman of the board of directors of bpost Bank. The leadership of ICT was added to his mandate in 2009 when he became group CIO. Late in 2012, he took charge of all sales and marketing activities for domestic mail and retail, and then became CEO of bpost in March 2014. He holds a business engineering degree and an MBA from Cornell University in the US. Koen is married with 3 daughters and grandfather of 2 boys. So please welcome Koen van Gerven.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Dear colleagues of the postal world, and Mr. Chairman, you surely allow me to welcome all delegates here to Belgium and express my congrats to Triangle for this well-organized conference at this marvelous environment of Château du Lac. Welcome to all of you here. The topic of today is surely interpelling and broad: universal service, redefining delivery. And I will provide a couple of thoughts on both, as well redefining delivery as universal service. And that what I will share with you comes from a European leader, as the organizer states remains, of course, its own sole responsibility. So I will walk you through 3 topics. First of all, I will briefly update you on bpost and on our strategy. Then I will take 3 aspects of what we do within this strategy in reshaping or redefining, if you want to, delivery. I will touch a little bit on mail, parcels, and on USO 2. And then I will conclude, if time allows me, with some of the results of the company. As far as, of course, activities is concerned, bpost is quite similar with the other colleagues that you will meet this morning. We are the incumbent operator in Belgium. And of course, we manage, collect, sorting, and distribution even today of almost 10 million meal pieces on a daily basis and more than 110,000 parcels a day. We do that in operating more than 9,000 mail rounds on a daily basis. Next to that, we still have a network of post offices, 650 post offices, complemented with the same number in franchised outlet. In terms of turnover, last year we had a turnover of 2.5 billion and an EBIT of 480 million euros. We do employ almost 25,000 FTEs, and in doing so we are the largest employer in Belgium. And probably interesting for this presentation too is to mention that more than 60% of the turnover that we do within the company still comes from mail. And this is something that you have to keep in mind. This is the beast we're talking about. What about our strategy? Our strategy is quite focused, and I call it from time to time not too complicated, straightforward. And I think it's important to mention that delivery, last mile delivery in our strategy even today remains a cornerstone. So 3 or 4 pillars in our strategy. First of all, mail, as I already said, remains important in the overall turnover. And so we continue to work and to support mail in its different aspects. Secondly, of course, we are well aware that we live on planet Earth in the 21st century and that this is a digital century, so mail volumes are under pressure. And of course, we search to develop what we call new platforms of growth. The most obvious one, and John made already reference to that, is of course everything that has to do with parcels. But next to that, we try to deliver other services that what we call are related to our last mile assets. So this is the second part of our strategy. And then thirdly, basically it's a pillar that was the cornerstone of the transformation process of bpost, but we continue to work on that because there is still a lot to be done. And this is about a continuous pipeline of efficiency improvement projects covering the entire value chain with big programs, with sometimes disruptive changes, as well as continuous improvement programs and lean initiatives. So raise the bar continuously is actually the mantra in that part of our strategy. And we did it, but we will continue to do it for quite a while. And last but not least, we try to do, and that's a fourth pillar of our strategy, we try to do all of this in a way where we get everybody with us, being it the customers, the shareholders, or our employees. So, or even as a public company, society at large. This is our strategy. I'm not going to comment much more on that. I will come back on it later. But it's a strategy that proved to be effective in delivering results in most recent years. And actually, for me, it's the framework to reshape the delivery of tomorrow in order to continue delivering sustainable results. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share with you a couple of thoughts on how we do redefine delivery in this area within the strategy, responding to, of course, this changing world. And first of all, I will give you some thoughts about mail. Mail remains important and remains an important cornerstone for our delivery organization going forward. And therefore, to me, it's very relevant that what I call that we cherish and support mail activities in order to be able to soften the unavoidable decline in this digitizing world. Because if we don't care for mail, we will not have volumes. And if you don't have volumes to distribute, of course, then you don't have to organize, neither reshape your delivery organization. And I think that most of you share my belief in the value of paper. And it's not a religious belief, it's purely scientific. And of course, e-substitution impacted and will continue to impact our mail. But we try to work and we try to do extensive market research. And we know from that there is still importance, and people pay importance to mail. It's important to receivers, as well as we can show and we can demonstrate with this market research the power of the letter and the power of the mailbox as a communication channel or communication purposes. And all of this we use as information. We develop a number of programs. We reach out, and I will show a number of examples on that, both in the field of administrative mail as advertising mail. Next to that, I would like to draw your attention on the importance of a well-thought pricing strategy in this area. I'm a firm believer of small, regular price increases. And in doing so, I try to stay what I would call under the radar, avoiding, of course, by big hikes, avoiding kicking in of negative price elasticity. And I understand and I know that for that you have to have what I would call a correct regulatory framework. And unfortunately, in Belgium, we have that. So we have the possibility that we can, on a yearly basis, increase the price with inflation and something more. But I think we can't underestimate going forward the importance of having a good environment in terms of price regulation that we can continue to use. And it will impact the volumes, and it will impact the way we will have to organize, or we can organize, our distribution. A couple of examples in what we do is what I would like to share with you. The effort that we do in direct mail is about what we call consultative selling. Consultative selling is we have extensive market research, and we reach out to big mailers to share with them this information. We tell them the importance receivers pay in receiving mail. We tell them that's important in the all-over communication mix that you develop towards your prospects and your customers, that it's important that you balance the different ways of communication you get in that. And the story is not about paper or digital. The story is more about paper and digital, and in combining both with the advantage of the reach that you have in digital media, combined with the stopping power and the call to action of paper, you can reach very nice results, and you can even improve your selling results. Those are the things that we know, that probably you know, and we try to reach out and to tell that to all the people. A nice example is what we did with Zalando. Zalando, a grown company in the digital world. We did explain all of the things that we have on paper and the value of paper and the right combination. And they started off in Belgium with, combined with their digital media, to send out direct mail. They started off with a third campaign, and currently they are already running their fourth campaign, which is, of course, quite well and quite interesting. Based on these insights, and this is another example, we develop a standard offering towards SME customers. And what we do provide over there is an integrated web tool to configure a personalized print campaign, and that we combine with AdWords of Google. It's another example where actually if you try to redefine your delivery, you not only have to work on your processes and your environment, but you have to have the relevant products in this changing world to put into that delivery organization. And a third example is one you know already probably, so where with an app where you can take pictures and we print it as a physical postcard that's being delivered. We did develop it a few years ago. What we did learn is that the emotional value and the perception value of this kind of product is very important. It shows that we are innovative, or at least that's the perception that we create with this kind of products, that we are very innovative. We're not going to save the company financially with this kind of products, but the emotional value is very important. So those are the things you have to do and you have to develop to remain relevant. But it's not only about products, it's not only about offering. If you want to redefine delivery, you have to think at your processes too. And this is where we currently invest in a quite vast program called Vision 2020, overhauling the existing process towards a fully automated mail bag preparation. And then we can bring the mail bag preparation, which is done now manually by the postman on 270 locations, to 5 industrialized mail centers. And this is a nice example of one of the things that we need for that. It's the next generation mixed sorting machine. It's a big beast, 70 meters long, and it's able to sort all type of mail mixed mixed in the sense that you can put it all on the machine, the big format, the small format, the warped format, the open format, and we can get high-speed sequenced output for that. It's a Solistic machine. The expensive ones, 2 million a piece. We bought 25, and we're currently going through the process of installing them in our sorting center. So it is about what you offer, but it's about processes too. And we are a firm believer that there is still a future for all of this, so we continue to invest in that. Next, of course, if we talk and we think about delivery, and John made a reference to it too, and if we think on the next generation model, we can't neglect the booming world of e-commerce. And I compare e-commerce to postal companies to what mobile was to telecom companies some 15 years ago. For Belgium, we are a slow mover, and you can see the figure below in red is the percentage that people spend currently in Belgium over the internet. It's small compared to other countries like Germany or like the UK. But as you can see, the growth rate is very important. So there is a big potential coming to us, and that's why that's so important that we continue to reflect what's going to be the impact for the delivery organization. And it's not only about spending, it's about the largening of the categories that will come, of course, in the years to come. Our starting position is not bad. We do have half of the market. We do distribute half of the B2C parcels in Belgium, but of course, with a fast-growing market and with a lot of potential into that market, it attracts new competitors, it attracts creativity. So you will have to defend, and we will have to defend our market leadership over there. And therefore, we have to listen carefully to what happens in the market. Our ambition is that we stay on top of it, that we want to keep this best last mile, and we have to listen carefully to the market, what's going on over there. We know today that home delivery is still the preferred way to get your parcels delivered, and that's why probably we have this strong situation in the market. But we know too from market research, as you go and develop your habits on the net and start to buy more, then you develop a multi-channel approach. And that's why actually we did invest and we continue to invest in other means of delivery, being it next to home delivery, parcel lockers, and we did install a network of parcel lockers, being it pickup points and drop-off points, we did develop it. We switched to, or we offer since recently Saturday delivery. We even went to Sunday delivery in a pilot, and we will start in the months to come, or in the weeks to come even, with late night delivery. Those are the things that we want to do. We started with late in too. And important here is to understand that the dynamics of this new promising parcel market, that the dynamics are fairly different from mail business. And hence, the impact on the delivery organization that we have to construct. We can't simply copy what we used to do in the mail market because it's completely different. Worthwhile, but I'm going not to elaborate on that, is the international part of it. The idea was Belgium is small. If we want to fill the network and remain relevant, we have to reach out and bring the parcels to Belgium. And therefore, we get ourselves organized in the two hotspots of e-commerce, being the United States and Far East. And it starts to work fairly well. But next to that, what we did discover is that next to the things coming to Belgium or to Europe, there are some very interesting lanes not touching Belgium. For example, between the United States and Canada, to give you one example. And so we continue to develop those lanes too. It's a kind of a niche strategy. We're not competing DHL as a global player, but I'm convinced that there are very interesting niches in this e-commerce world we will continue to develop, and it will impact the delivery organization at home too. Next to parcels, of course, as I already said, we have a number of other initiatives where we will reuse the assets of our last mile network, being it grocery delivery, we're piloting currently, being it what we call city logistics, trying to respond on the challenges that big cities have in terms of mobility and in terms of ecological footprint. So we will continue to develop a number of things that, of course, from that perspective, will impact our delivery organization too. Of course, having all of this in mind, We have to talk about products, we have to talk about offering, we have to talk about processes, but we have to keep in mind, of course, changing technologies and changing expectations. And here they're listed. I'm not going to run through all of this, but we all know that a customer of yesterday is not a customer tomorrow. And of course, technology will come. And we will have to take into account the technology changes in technology, not only the small ones, but the disruptive ones too. And we have to be aware that even new business models that can be fairly disruptive will pop in, and that we have to take them into account. Let's go to my final point before concluding. A number of things on USO. USO, and I think USO is very important for all postal operators, and we all have to cope with that. It's one of the provisions that is in the third directive as far as we talk European environment. In Belgium, we do enjoy a quite large definition of USO, and probably it helps us today to remain positive in terms of the cost. So we are cost positive in terms, or income positive, put it that way, in terms of the user that we enjoy today. But in rediscussing all of this, and we're going currently to a rediscussion with government, there are a number of things that we have to take into account. I want to mention three. Of course, we have to understand that in the world of today and tomorrow, the customer's expectations are different. And if we talk USO, I think that one of the things that we can't forget is, well, we do it for the customer, so we have to take into account the changing habits and the changing expectations of customers. A letter is not a parcel. Nobody waits for receiving his invoice from the utility company. If it comes a few days later, or nobody cares. But a parcel, I want to have it as quick as possible. I want to have it fast. So those are the things that you have to take into account if you reflect on USO going forward. Next to that, of course, it's obvious, but technology today and tomorrow is not what we had 20 years ago, because that's almost a period we were defining the previous format of USO. And then last but not least, with volumes going down in mail, we have to realize that if the USO is still positive today, it will come very quickly very negative. And as provided in the directive, it's a state that has to pay the net cost of USO. So I'm not sure that there is room in state budget for paying this tens and tens of millions of euros that it will cost going forward. So all elements to keep in mind if we start talking about USO with governments, and I think the name of the game is flexibility. We're now currently discussing the USO covering the period 2020-2030. Don't ask me where this world will be in 2030. So please, let's try to convince them to bring in some kind of flexibility. Those are the three things, and those are some slides on that it did work in the past, and that we have to continue to be vigilant so that we can continue to build this kind of graphs we are very proud of. It's not only a financial story, it's only a story about quality, it's a story about customer satisfaction, it's a story of employee satisfaction. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but it's always nice to show that to you, that whatever we tell, that we can execute it and it pays off in results. Even our share price, and we are very proud on that. We were last year being introduced in the stock market in June 2013. Last year, we became the best performing company of our index in Belgium, the BEL index, the BEL 20 index. So something to be proud of, and that's why I pop it in my presentations. Let's conclude, Mr. Chairman, with the takeaways. And the takeaways, as far as I'm concerned, are four. Last mile delivery remains a cornerstone in our business proposition, of course, and I think that we have to cherish that. Therefore, and I said it in the beginning, mail is still important to us, and I'm convinced that we can continue to keep it reasonably important in the things that we do. So we have to continue to invest in mail in order to fill this last mile delivery network. Next to that, of course, the promising part is about parcels, but parcels do have specific drivers in this delivery space. And then last but not least, the universal service delivery remains important, but needs updating and redefining. Those are the things that I wanted to share with you, and afterwards, I'm open to questions, of course. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for that. I think we couldn't have had a more insightful opening speaker. I think there's lots of things that we might want to follow up in Q&As afterwards in terms of how bpost sees the developments of our industry in the future.